and happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. I'm Maria Milagros. You're an incredible, amazing, extraordinary, one-of-a-kind human being who is deserving and worthy of love and support as you are and as you evolve, because hopefully you're evolving. We're all evolving. Who we were when we were 9 and 19 and 29 and so on and so forth has continued to change and evolve. That's the beauty of living this life. It's constant change, right? So you're deserving and worthy of love, whether you realize it or not. I just wanted to start there because today we are talking about relationships. And well, during the month of February, we've been talking about relationships. And today I'm just going to give you my final thing about relationships that hopefully, if we sit and we kind of process and think about these things, we can start making healthier choices for ourselves and for our relationships, which are a big part of our lives and a big reason that contributes to or takes away from our health and healing or hurt and harm, right? So here it is. Ready? I get nervous saying this out loud because people are always like, oh, how dare you? It's not that crazy either. Relationships are seasonal. I said it. It's true. Relationships are seasonal. But here's the thing. Sometimes we don't know when that season's going to end. Sometimes that season is really short. A couple weeks, a couple months. Sometimes that season is really long. 10, 20, 50 years, right? But the reality is that we don't know. We really legitimately don't know because either something could happen in the dynamics of our lives that send us on different paths, which is part of the evolving and the changing, or someone in the relationship dynamic could leave the earth and decide, not decide, but leave the earth. Someone in that dynamic could make a decision that dynamic is no longer healthy for them or no longer something that they want to be a part of, right? And because we're not mind readers and because we're not fortune tellers, we legitimately don't know. So this is not to be negative. Stay with me. This is not to freak you out. This is actually my attempt to hopefully get you to feel a little more urgent about how you choose to show up in your relationships and how you are contributing to those relationships and whether or not those relationships are something that you want to continue to be a part of. Because if that season is 50 years, and that's 50 years of toxic and unhealthy, you have to decide if you're going to continue to participate in that space, right? So let's start over here. When we know that relationships are seasonal, which means they can end at any time, what it does not minimize the hurt or the pain that we might feel from the ending of that relationship, but there is something really soft in knowing that we showed up. We loved, we were honest, we were ourselves, we were compassionate, we were real, we held each other accountable, right? Like we pushed each other to be next level, whatever that means for you, right? We showed up and our desire was to be healthy and happy. We missed it sometimes. We messed up, we made mistakes, we hurt each other, either intentionally or unintentionally. We apologized, we made changes, we made corrections, we moved forward. Like, are we doing that in our relationship that is seasonal, that could end at any time? Because a lot of times we take our relationships for granted. And then when they end, I hear so many people say, it was out of the blue. No, it was not. I'm on the outside. You just told me this whole story and I could tell you all the red flags along the way. This did not happen out of the blue. Sometimes we choose to ignore our own stuff and say, well, this is just who I am. This is what, take it or leave it. Not willing to grow, evolve, get to a healthier, happier place for ourselves first, which impacts all of our relationships. And then we say, I can't believe that person did that to me. It was out of nowhere. It was not out of nowhere. Guaranteed, you were probably choosing, or they were probably choosing not to listen, not to pay attention, not to be aware. And sometimes people believe that, well, this is how my parents did it. Your parents might not have been the healthiest version of relationships for you to be trying to follow. right? And if your parents were fighting, screaming, and yelling, or if your dad was always stonewalling, shutting down, not talking, and if your mom was always crying in the corner because no one was talking about what was happening, no one was being honest and real and unpacking, understanding that they are both coming from their own backgrounds with their own filters and their own stuff, and then trying to create this between all of that, right? You have all this leading up to these two humans, and then they're trying to create this space in between them called a relationship. That's not always easy because you have all this stuff that comes with you. So if you decide to do it like this, and you saw your parents do it and they stayed together for 60 years because they didn't know that there was a way out, or they really believe that divorce is never, be miserable for the rest of your life, but don't get divorced, right? Like they chose that instead. You might believe that that's the only way to do things, and it's not healthy. It might have been the best way that they knew how, but it might not necessarily be the best way, right? You get what I'm saying? So relationships are seasonal. How are you showing up? Now, this is also for the other person, but they're not the ones listening to this video right now. You are. So we have to take personal responsibility. How am I showing up in my relationships? When I show up in that space that I've created with my daughter, right? I have that space. When I show up, am I showing up because I had a bad day and she has to deal with the brunt of that? Or am I going to be honest and say, I had a bad day at work, which is not real for me anymore. But, it happens. I have moments. I have bad moments. Am I going to bring that into the dynamic of our relationship and just like push it on her? Or am I going to acknowledge, be responsible, mature enough to acknowledge, this is how I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling that way. I don't want to take it out on you. I need some space. I'm going to go over here and breathe because I love you so much. And I love this space between us so much that you deserve better, right? So I'm going to go over here and breathe and do my thing and decompress and meditate and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll come back, right? And not go I'm not going to take off for 5 days and abandon the relationship, but I am going to create like some space. I'll go to my room, or, I'll go hang out in the kitchen and do my breathing, listen to my music, whatever, right? How are we showing up? And I'm trying to be real, because it's not always like everything's so wonderful all the time. That's not real. But when we show up into that dynamic, how are we showing up? And we cannot use the excuse, well, I have a tough job. Find a new job. Because you can't keep using that excuse to beat up on the person that you claim to love. I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot continuously use the excuse that your life is hard as a justification for creating hurt and harm in a relationship with a person who you claim to love. And that could be at work, in your personal life, your partnerships, your friendships, doesn't matter. You cannot continue to use that justification over and over and over again. That's why I hurt you, because it doesn't allow you to take full responsibility and to make the changes that you need to make in order for you to get to a place that's healthy and happy. All relationships are seasonal. So whether they end it, whether it ends because of some other, sometimes really people just go separate ways and they drift apart because their beliefs become different. And that's totally normal and that's totally okay. But can you look back then and say, I showed up. I really did. I did the work. I made the changes. I kept trying to become my best version, not best version, but like moving towards healthier and happier. I was willing to take responsibility for what was mine. I was not willing to take responsibility for what was not mine. Also really healthy, right? I set up healthy boundaries. I made sure that I was clear about what I needed. I listened to understand. I spoke to be understood. I used the sandwich technique. I showed up with compassion, and not 100% of the time, but when we miss it, we apologize, right? Like, are you showing up in the dynamic of your relationship in that way? Because all relationships are seasonal. And I promise you, if a relationship ends and you know that you did the thing, there's still pain to deal with, of course. There's the severing, right? There's still that piece, but you also know, like, I did it. I showed up and they weren't ready. And then it doesn't feel necessarily like rejection so much as redirection, right? I like to think and believe that when I meet some people and they separate, I went, oh, this person's really healthy and is at a different level in terms of their emotional intelligence. This person is not. This person was not ready for this person. And this person was like, I'm good. I'm done being here, right? Now, I want to talk about this side for a quick moment. If on the other side of that, we recognize that relationships are seasonal and that they're going to end, and we know how we're showing up, then when they do end, we also we can say to ourselves, I did the best I could with what I knew how. I'm continuing to learn and to grow. And I'm going to bring this new knowledge, this new love into the other spaces and pockets of my life, right? So how are you showing up in your relationships because they are seasonal? And then how are you coping with your relationships when they end because they are seasonal, right? Like, that's it. Relationships are seasonal. So we have to decide, is this relationship healthy for me? And if not, how much longer am I going to continue to put myself in this situation that's toxic and unhealthy? Because the only person who can truly determine that for me is me. That's true. Am I going to continue to be there? There was a person in my life who was in a really toxic and abusive relationship. And when it would get really, really bad, we would get a call and we would kind of jump and go and rescue and retrieve. And that person would go back and do it again. And then we go run, grab, rescue, and retrieve. And they just kept doing that. And it wasn't until that person started going to therapy, unpacking their own issues, and then going like, whoa, it doesn't justify the other person's behavior, but this person had to say to themselves, I deserve better. And then once they realized that that other person was not trying to be healthy, they kept repeating their own patterns, they went like, and done. And they decided to end that relationship. That relationship became seasonal because they decided to end it for their own health and happiness. And in doing so, not only did that person find freedom and health and happiness and love that they deserve, healthy, communicating, like loving love, but it also taught this person, you don't treat people this way. And it's one thing to say 27 times, you don't treat people this way, but I'm going to stay here. And it's another thing, and this is not for everybody. This is why you have to know yourself and your greater knowing. And then there's the times when they say, okay, 27 times is enough, I'm out. And then this person either has two choices. They can either go, holy crap, I got to get help. Or they go, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and I'm just going to find somebody else who plays my game or who goes along with me, right? And so sometimes I hear people say, it wasn't until after we broke up that person got the help. Why couldn't they do that when we were together? Because they really couldn't. There was almost a need for them to suffer in that way before they could see what they were actually doing and make those corrections. So by you leaving them, not only did you do yourself a favor, but you did them a favor as well, right? Relationships are seasonal. Relationships are seasonal. How are we showing up and how long are we choosing to stay in relationships in environments that are not healthy and toxic for us? So that's all I have. I am an empowerment life coach. I do one-on-one coaching and small group coaching. If you are ever in a space and you're like, I need to unpack this some more, I need to have more conversations, I need to understand this, you can give me a call. You can reach out. My website is at the end and you can find my contact information there. I also do keynote speaking, and I facilitate workshops that fall under the umbrella of personal growth and development. And in everything that I do, I talk about the power of love and joy because all things begin right here first and foremost. All things. So it is my knowing for myself, for my clients, for the people that I've spoken to, for the people that I've worked with, for the thousands of people that I've spoken to in groups, that when they actually implement the work here first, things around them start to change. When we get healthy and happier, we attract more of that, right? So if that's something you're also interested in, again, you can go to my website. It's at the end of the at the end of the video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you know someone who can benefit from it, please share this. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe to my channel. You get a free weekly email. Well, subscribe to my channel, but when you go to my website, you can subscribe at the top purple toolbar. You get a free weekly email that includes this video, any upcoming information about workshops or anything that I'm doing that are public. You'll know about them first. And then occasionally I give out discounts and deals to different things that I have going on. So if that's something you want to be a part of, sign up for the Super Sparkly Everything family. That's right, we're a family, whether you like it or not. No, you don't have to take it. You're your own person. You get to decide. I'm not going to take it personal either way. That's all I have for you. I hope this was beneficial. If you know someone, again, who can benefit from this, please go ahead and share it because, again, when we get healthier here and in our relationships, we just make the world a better place. True story. So I'll talk to you soon. Peace.